Welcome to Hopped Up on Security. This is a show where we talk a little bit about beer and a lot about security. And today I'm joined by Tomer Schwartz. Welcome, Tomer.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So you're a beer drinker, right?
Sometimes.
Awesome. Good. So we have a really interesting beer today. We're going to start off by talking about that. Actually, let me pour it. It's from a brewery called Hair of the Dog out of Portland, Oregon. I'll start with you first.
Awesome. So what type of beer is that?
This is an old ale. I think you like dark beers, don't you? That's wonderful because this is a nice dark beer, nice old ale. Let's take a taste.
Yeah, sure. Cheers.
What do you think? It's nice, and I'm getting like a lot of plum and kind of, I don't know, kind of dark fruity, maybe a raisin flavor out of it.
Bit of chocolate, maybe?
Maybe chocolate, yeah. We'll see how this warms up and sip it along the way and see if anything else comes out. So Tomer, tell me about yourself. You work at Adalom, right?
Correct.
What do you do at Adalom?
I'm Director of Security Research.
Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, Director of Security Research, it's a pretty broad, potentially a broad topic or a broad title for you. So what exactly do you do?
So basically, I'm trying to answer a very simple question, which is the cloud secure?
Yeah.
And every day I try to tackle this problem from very different aspects, like what kind of data we get into our systems, and is anything funky going on there? Do we find any kind of vulnerabilities in some of the cloud providers that we support, etc.?
Well, let me interrupt and ask you, Tomer, is the cloud secure?
No. Unfortunately.
I think we should drink some more beer.
Yeah.
All right, cheers. It's actually getting better.
It is.
So tell me, how do you know that the cloud isn't secure? What are some of the things that you're looking for and that you're finding as you're doing what you do in your daily life?
Unfortunately, in the past couple of months, we've seen an increasing number of attacks that we find. We also find a lot of vulnerabilities right now around mostly third-party apps and some of the major vendors.
Actually, let me ask. So a lot of people aren't familiar with the term third-party app. I mean, there are obviously applications that our customers are probably using in their environment. But what are the characteristics of a third-party app? What makes it a third-party app?
So it can be very different between the apps because it depends on the type of integration that they have. But the most simple type is just if you log in to some kind of a website and it lets you log in with your Google credentials, for example, then behind the scenes, it uses an API token to talk directly to Google and to authenticate you. So what happens is that your Google account is now associated with this website, and by clicking on that link, you give privileges to that website to act on your behalf on Google.
So users are connecting these third-party apps to their Google Drive or their Google Apps, and those third-party applications, have the ability to basically get into the documents and get into that account, right?
Exactly. So, for example, if we have allowed a certain website to the permission to edit files over the Google Drive, then that website can now act on your behalf on Google Drive.
As you can imagine, that's potentially a huge vulnerability for customers, especially if they're not monitoring these third-party applications.
Of course, and unfortunately, most of those third-party app vendors are not as secure as the major providers.
So what sort of vulnerabilities are these third-party apps introducing? What are people seeing out in the wild?
So it depends on the third-party app. So you get a whole bunch of different vulnerabilities ranging from simple cross-site scripting, for example, in the third-party app that eventually leads to the token being hijacked, up to actual maybe SQL injections in some cases and actually remote code execution on the third-party provider. Bottom
line is that there are a bunch of different ways that these applications, these primary applications, can be breached through third-party apps. And my guess is that the customers out there, the enterprises or the organizations, probably aren't even aware that these third-party apps are plugging into their Google environments, and therefore they're really not aware of the vulnerabilities that they're up against, right?
That's exactly right, because it's very hard to monitor the entire user base of the organization and make sure that everybody installs the right apps, basically.
Right. So when you uncover something, I guess you guys are doing a bunch of research and trying to find these vulnerabilities. When you uncover something, what's the process? What's next? You're working with the vendors, or
yeah, of course. We first notify the vendor about it, and we try to establish what is the risk associated with this specific vulnerability, and we try to figure out if we can use the add-on product to stop it directly.
Oh, I see. So yeah, I mean, which is great because the research that you're doing and work that you're doing allows us to build some of that intelligence back into the Avalon platform and protect our customers,
Correct.
right? So, we're becoming smarter as you're out there doing the work that you and the team are doing, which is terrific. And I know that we have, we're doing things to help our customers too stay protected over and above what we're building into the product, right? Well, let's drink a little. Let's take another sip of the beer and see how it's doing. I know a lot of times, especially with these darker beers, as they come up to room temperature, you start to get different characteristics coming out. So let's see if we taste anything different. Man, that's a really good beer. I love it that and this is I should say that they've been brewing this beer since I think 1994. This obviously isn't from '94. So I just picked it up recently. This is a batch '93 for anyone who's familiar with Hair of the Dog, and Adam. But these are one of those beers that age really nicely. This one doesn't have any age on it, but I can just imagine that it would get much better as you put a few years on it, and you put it, if you're properly cellaring the beer, it would be really wonderful. But I think it's a great beer. Today, I'd love to taste one from back in '94.
Yeah, maybe next episode.
Yeah, we can maybe we'll make a road trip and do an on-site at Hair of the Dog in Portland. I've actually been to the brewery. It's a great space. They have good food and some really great beers you can't get outside of the brewery. Well, anyway, Tomer, thanks a lot for coming. I think it was really great to meet you. I hope you enjoyed your Hair of the Dog. Adam, this is the first time that you've had this beer.
Yeah, I did.
We look forward to having you back, where we can talk a little bit more about some beer and talk more about the things that you're doing on the Avalon Labs team. Once again, thanks a lot, and thanks for joining us on Hopped Up on Security.